with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you very much. And Kathy, could we do our history picture first? Oh no, we have an invocation. Do we have one today?
Yep, I will.
We do, Hyun Kim.
Thank you.
First of all, I hope you all had a happy Palm Sunday and Good Friday's coming, and happy Easter too. I found this poem really helped me with such a noisy world out there. So I'm just going to read this to you, and I hope this helps you too. This Unmeasured Peace by Donna Myback. Silence wraps me around like the mist out on the bay, taking me to hidden depth where fears are washed away. And as I rest in quietude, all my boundaries cease, leaving me immersed in this unmeasured peace. Amen.
Thank you very much, Jan. That was beautiful. Now, Kathy, can I have the history picture? And we'll do announcements right after that. So Lynn has an announcement and I have one. Anybody else can raise their hand. So this is from about 1991, the 90-91 season. And it was a World Community Service project for Roseville. Past District Governor Roland Wilsey, past President, District Governor Bob Haynes, and Don Zabel, Vice President, bid the hospital equipment goodbye on its way to Guatemala. So I thought that was kind of a fun one. There were two pictures, but I just picked the one. And then Kathy, why don't we go ahead and go to that announcement about the human trafficking. I think there was a slide on that one too. We're all invited to participate in one coming up. There we go. Thursday, April 15th from 7 to 8:30, a forum on ending human trafficking. Looks like it's going to be a fantastic event. They've got some really powerful speakers lined up. There's a QR code. I think we could send this out in an email or district announcements or something so that you can get this scheduled. But for now, just mark it in your calendars on Thursday, April 15th. And Lynn Megan, would you like to give your announcement?
Yes. So during the month of April, we are joining the Arden Hills Shoreview Rotary Club with a service project that they've initiated. It is called Are You Hungry? Are You Hungry? They are looking for individually packaged snack treats. So like granola, snack bars, the muffins and cookies individually, wrapped ones, juice packets, water bottles, the fruit leather stuff, fruit cups, Spam, the Spam key top ready to open, tuna key top ready to open, nuts, things like that. So all through the month of April, and it'll go to the, I would guess they adopted the McCullough Park in Shoreview. So nope, that's our other project. Never mind. I'm sure people, similar to the coalition area is who the food is going to. You can drop it off again anytime during April at TSE office, my office. I won't be there. I'm there a couple days a week, but not every day. But Asa or Hannah will be there and I'll let them know. That address is 2027 Rice Street. And our office door is the furthest door to the west. Excuse me. yeah, so just drop it off and we'll give this notice every week or the next 3 weeks as well. So please think about it and please participate.
And Kathy, put your address in the chat. So if you want to write that down, you'll know where to bring it. Are there any other announcements? Please raise your hand symbol. Yes, go ahead, Lynn. Scott.
Searching for the hand signal. Thank you. Just a heads up that in 2 weeks from today, on April 12th, we're going to have a speaker and we're going to launch our Cycle of Life environmental project, the gardening. We're going to be taking care of the gardens at the Y this summer as a Rsvl Rotary. It's part of our project with the district. Arden Hills and Shoreview is going to participate with us. That's part of the partnership between the Are You Hungry and our gardens. So be watching 2 weeks from today. We'll unveil all of that and we'll launch this project, and we're excited about it and looking forward to lots of people participating and doing seed starters and in volunteering at the gardens. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. That's exciting. That's a good update. All right, anybody else? All right, I think we have time to do some happy dollars. So does anybody have a happy dollar? Go ahead and pop your hand signal or just wave, because that worked with Lynn. We'll just try to catch you.
Deb,
Yes.
I have already shown some pictures of the trumpeter swans that came and landed on our pond for the, I think it was last Monday. And I just wanted to say, I think that's worth $10 of happiness for Polio Plus.
Thank you very much. They're absolutely magnificent animals. Although I think I like the gang shot better. Go ahead, Ed. Yes.
It looked like a large cardboard cutout of Jan on the wall behind him. I don't know if that's true or not, but my happy dollar, my happy dollar is right now I'm leading in the NCAA basketball tournament bracket that I'm in. So if the teams continue to do as I predicted, I'll be a winner. So right now I'm just happy to be in the lead.
Congrats.
What are you, clairvoyant or something?
And
No,
who
I
did
only
you
have a
predict?
fraction of the, I only have a fraction of the
What
points.
team?
I think it's more the group I'm in. So
What team did you take? Who did you
Baylor.
pick?
I picked
Baylor, okay.
Yeah. All 4 of my final 4 teams are still on track. So
Wow.
All right. Anybody else got one?
Yeah, I've got $5 because I'm very negative. And another $5 because I got my second shot.
Woohoo. Congrats. Thank you.
I will go for the happy dollar, $5 for the first vaccine I received. And no pain and nothing. I just got it and I'm absolutely great. I really think that I drink I drink apple carrot water juice every day. And I take vitamins. I think immune system that I might have is not bad. Thank you.
And because of that, you might have a stronger reaction to your second, because I have a strong immune as well. So it's the second one that people have more reaction to.
I had no pain at first one?
No.
Yeah. Okay, I'll prepare for that. Thanks. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, I think Madam President-elect Jenny Hedal, would you be so kind as to introduce our speaker for today?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Today we have Charles Goldstein, who is going to be, his title is Raising the Curtain for Your Second Act. So specifically, he's going to talk about how disillusioned workers can reevaluate their career paths and find something that's really close to their calling. So I'd love to introduce you today, Charles.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I know you people don't know me, but I have been doubly vaccinated, so I don't think I'm going to be contagious to anybody right now. So, you know, that's the first joke. Now, the first thing I want people to know is I'd like to have everybody unmuted, because when there's audience reaction, I'd rather have that than and everybody to hear each other laugh and encourage each other to laugh that way, versus worry about the little random background noises. It looks like we are recording. That's good. And I don't mind laughter at all during the speech, especially at the humor.
Well, we'll judge whether we should laugh or not. I'm sorry. We have to wait for some humor.
I've got a sign for that, so you'll know. Okay. So thank you for having me today. I love Rotary. I was a member for a couple of years in recent past in St. Louis Park, Minnesota. I don't know what you do for food, but St. Louis Park has one of the best lunch buffets around. And so if you can wrangle an invitation there, it's a great group, and I plan to rejoin there soon when I can be there in person and all the craziness lets up. So it's worth the drive into the cities. Well, I guess you're kind of in the cities, right? You consider yourself in the cities?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. So it's worth the drive to visit St. Louis Park sometime. You can be my guest once I'm back there as well.
Julie, tell them where we are. Rsvl, perfectly positioned.
Perfectly positioned, Twin Cities.
That's the byline, the slogan?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, for Visit Rsvl.
To your groups if you ever invite me. Nobody's invited me yet. Anyways,
You are most
caveat
welcome.
that I'm on a guest internet now. I'm supposed to have had it installed today by CenturyLink, and they haven't shown up yet. So I was hoping I would have it this morning. So this guest one can be a little bit iffy. If there's any problem with hearing me or the image, please interrupt me, let me know. I don't know what I can do about it, so I regret that. But if you can't hear me well or aren't seeing me well, and you have an idea on how to make it any better, let me know. We'll wait to see if that happens. Is it okay so far?
Yep.
Looks good. Good.
Okay. Great. So today I'm going to talk to you about the modern age of the workplace and the many challenges it presents, especially as they relate to the more senior worker. I'm going to talk today about the culture clash between different aged workers, age discrimination, and many of the other factors that have to be surmounted by the older worker. Then we'll be on to the enjoyable part, pursuing rather a second or even a third career, dreams and passions. As William Shakespeare wrote, all of life is a stage, and that is why I call the phenomenon second acts. But a second act is often only the beginning, with many moving on to third, fourth, or even post-retirement acts. But before doing this and delving into the second act phenomenon, let me create some backdrop. The current landscape presents challenges to workers of every age, but especially to those who have been in it for decades and are either disenchanted with their career path or the workplace itself, or even those who would like to pursue a later in life career or dream vocationally. Further complicating the scenario is the fact that men and women approaching age 60 are more vulnerable, of course, to the COVID-19 illness. And although many, maybe the majority, are working remotely from home now, the situation may not be long-term. It looks like it won't be for at least most companies. And the younger workers are returning to the office, and they're less likely to feel vulnerable to the virus. And older workers may find themselves in a position where there's a substantial disadvantage in that regard, relying on the younger people to consistently exercise precautions, at least until a reliable and fully distributed vaccine occurs, which we're told now can be in May. But my talk today is not going to focus on that, given that it's a complex topic, and I have something a lot more fun than that to talk about after we get past some of these current issues in the workplace. So let's focus on the categories it appears many of you are in: baby boomers and Generation X. Baby boomers were born between 1946 and 1964 and are 56 to 74 years old. Gen Xers are born between 1965 and 1980 and currently between 40 to 55 years old. For those of you under age 40, time flies and you'll be here soon enough. We'll be welcoming you in. So if you add these two groups together, they amount to more than 230 million people in our country. Generation Y, also known as the millennials, are becoming a force with which to be reckoned. They number now approximately 72.1 million in the United States. One of the problems, and thus challenge, that wasn't supposed to be a joke. Here's one of the problems and thus challenges. The workforce today is experiencing a culture clash, especially between the baby boomers and the millennials. The opposite of the spectrum, they have contrasted attitudes and opportunities. And this dichotomy has so many elements that make for frustrating but interesting contrasts. Recently, as many of you have probably heard or experienced to your dismay, millennials recently created the catchphrase, "Okay, boomer," intended to single out my generation for our obsolescence and problematic perspective on any number of things, including the computer, the environment, and workplace habits. But just as much, we boomers are frustrated with the millennials and their sometimes lackadaisical attitude amongst millennials toward work attendance, long hours, dress code, and other formalities. In my age, they said, never be too dressed up. And now I think the millennials have a slogan, you can never be too dressed down. So, laughter. Employees struggle to create employee engagement to attract and retain talented employees in all different age and experience brackets. These disparately chronologically sorted workers and professionals have different preferences and needs. Some boomers and Gen Xers no longer feel they are fit for this new work framework, and others just aren't in the context of today's modern workplace. So here is what we're going to focus on today: the challenges faced and the opportunities open to those who are in their 40 plus club, who for whatever reason or for several reasons have become disenchanted with their allotted work due to the nature of its repetition, its lack of meaning, and opportunities presented, amongst many other factors. Last, midlife crisis often brings about a renewed search for meaning in one's life and career, in addition to a realization that if one's dreams and passions are not pursued now, they may never be. It might be right here, right now. Forget it. All of these phenomena together contribute to those in the 50 plus age bracket almost inevitably reevaluating their position and stage in their career, and even whether to stay in the same industry. It's becoming more and more common that these Generation Xers and Boomers are trying to reinvent themselves in an entirely different occupation and field. Many become the most exciting and what I think the most challenging but most rewarding aspect of self-employment. Although change in work or profession can be highly beneficial in the long run, in the short run, reinvention can create angst, confusion, and more if the situation is handled. But if you deal with it positively, thoughtfully, and with the right resources and guidance, it can bring glory days never dreamed possible by the previous disillusioned person. And by far, it beats sitting around singing the dinosaur blues, feeling obsolete, experiencing needless despair. So let's jump into the most enjoyable and inspiring part of the presentation. I'm going to tell you stories of many who have reinvented themselves with great success and aplomb. Many of these success. Pardon? Did someone say something? Okay.
No, that's the issue of having everyone unmuted.
Okay, that's okay. All right. I like the laughter better. So many of these success stories come from late people's lives and with results that were far beyond stellar. I've purposely chosen celebrities with whom you're likely to be familiar so that you already know their character and other aspects of their stories. Also, I've chosen individuals who worked for companies in their second act and others in self-employment. We can learn from what they did and how they did it. Most importantly, these stories illustrate that almost nothing is impossible, just impassable. Does anybody have an idea what I mean by that? So in other words, one particular direction approach may not get past the obstacles to reaching your vocational dreams at a given time, but with the right roadmap, another direction and approach can. Let's go to some of the familiar names who have achieved great fame, meaning, and fulfillment, and made a lot of money pursuing a second, third, or even fourth or more career reinvention. Sometimes it flung them into superstardom, and more importantly, a likely self-actualized life. The idea is if these people can become superstars in the area of their dream career, you can find ways to follow their lead and hopefully become at least a junior star in the area of your calling. But nobody can guarantee that you'll reach these kinds of results, but nor can anyone guarantee you that they won't happen. And if they dare to do so, just tell them, oh yeah, watch me. And if your goals don't materialize, I guarantee that any waste of time will be cheerfully refunded if you live long enough. Think about that one. I'm now in my third act. I've been an attorney for 30 years plus, worked for a Fortune 500 company in sales, marketing, and training, and now a nationally certified career coach. Guess what? Each time I've become happier and more fulfilled. So now, the underlying pieces, the mechanisms that supported their success, the commonalities of their ventures were best characterized by a secret formula. Oh, wait. The page is missing in my notes. I think they've been stolen. Someone locked the door right away. This is not funny. Please. The secret sauce has been heisted. I knew this might happen. I didn't think to save them on the computer. Oh, I can hear my son's voice. Okay, boomer. Well, it is what it is. So here's some of the stories of those who have made the jump to their second or even third act or more. You need to listen carefully for any commonalities, and we can open the door, or rather the floor, or the door, for a brief discussion of your observations if there's time. One time I told someone to go up and lock the door on this virtual presentation, and the woman leading the group got up and she locked the door. It was nice. Didn't need to do that. It was a virtual meeting. Anyway, fasten your seatbelts. Hopefully you haven't had breakfast or lunch yet, rather, for these narratives. So let's get started. Harlan Sanders did well in business early in his life when he sold pressure cookers for chickens, then in demand by the public. But the economy eventually dropped as people were generally moving north to factories or joining the military, and Sanders became broke. He had to sell his property to pay business debts. Sanders went on as a salesperson in the same industry for many years, air cooking methods for chickens. When he could have retired at age 70, he began demonstrating his and various seasoning secrets he had to other restaurants in the area. Then he went on to build. He developed franchisees and aided in their success. Only 5 in the first 2 years, later grew to 200, to 400, to 600, to a chain of spanning, guess how many countries? Anybody have a guess?
120.
From a small pressure. More. 86 countries. He continued on as the franchise spokesperson, ostensibly a third career, until the age of 90, when he ran against an obstacle he couldn't bypass. Anybody know what that was?
He died.
Old age. Old age.
For those of you of old age, I believe, I'm not sure. Maybe he ate too much of the chicken. But if you live to 90, I guess we can all enjoy Kentucky Fried Chicken as long as we want.
Tell me about it.
That's actually surprising. You live to 90 in a young company.
Uh-huh.
So for those of you who heard Ronald Reagan well, he began as a sportscaster in the Midwest. And in 1937, he signed a Hollywood contract for more than 50 feature films, which he performed in. Already into his second act, and then along the way, he started in training films for the Air Force during World War II, became a spokesperson for General Electric, and hosted the television series Death Valley Days. Who remembers Death Valley Days? Somebody say yes.
I do.
Yes.
Okay, boomer. For many years, he was active as a union organizer. He eventually ran for and was elected to governor of California, was active in presidential politics, and as we all know, ran for and was elected president on his third term, mind you. And of course, he was reelected and is now a fondly remembered president by many. One loses track counting his acts, at least 5. Regardless of your opinion of his politics, Ronald Reagan's story is a great example of an evolving career path, maximizing his skills and passions along the way. Not to mention his meaningfulness to society and increasing income to boot. To draw another example from past presidents, Harry Truman was a farmer turned clothing store owner with a partner. When he returned from military service, the store didn't take long to fall and launch them both into, believe it or not, bankruptcy. Despite that, he eventually ran for and was elected to county judge, eventually ran for and was elected to the US Senate. He took on the role as vice president for Franklin Roosevelt during Roosevelt's final days as president. I don't know if I would have recommended this one as a career coach, but he found himself waist deep in the tumultuous end days of World War II and the beginning of the Cold War. We can only imagine what his role in ending World War II was like for him, and it was far beyond his wildest thoughts back in his farming days, far beyond anybody's wildest thoughts. Now, here's one that can't be ignored. Ray Kroc started as an ambulance driver in the military, went on to sell cups, became involved in real estate investing in Florida, tried to make a living playing jazz piano, which brings to mind a joke I heard. How do you get $4 million in your bank account as a jazz musician? Anybody know?
No.
Start with laughter.
Start with what? I didn't hear that.
Your mic is breaking up sometimes.
Okay, let's try it again. Here's one that can't be ignored. Somebody call and my mic cuts out. I'll repeat the previous. I'm not sure what else to do. Here's one that can't be ignored. Ray Kroc started as an ambulance driver in the military.
Yeah.
He went on to sell cups, became involved in real estate investing in Florida, and tried to make a living playing jazz piano. So that brings to mind a joke I've heard. How do you have $4 million in your bank account as a jazz musician?
You start with $4 million.
Oh,
Feel it.
5 million. Ray Kroc
okay,
Ray
good
Kroc
one.
then invested his entire life savings in having exclusive marketing rights to the multi-mixer product and spent 17 years of his life as a traveling salesperson trying to sell the product. Then his 6th act, count them 6, he purchased for 0.5% of gross revenue the right to replicate the name and concept of McDonald's restaurants then in existence. There were only 2. After he was intrigued by their operation and their order of 8 multi-mixers. That sale of 8 multi-mixers was a substantial cause of a food chain that may have made the biggest impact in America or even world culinary history. And I use the word culinary a little bit loosely. So this was after he had reached age 50. And he eventually had his company selling $8 billion in food yearly. If you haven't seen the movie with Michael Keaton about Ray Kroc and the McDonald's phenomenon, I would highly recommend it. And Michael Keaton, as usual, is great in the role. For a more modern example, we all know about Michael J. Fox. Roles in Back to the Future and other hits, including Doc Holliday, which is my personal favorite. He later took on dramatic roles in television and then on to Spin City, even after being diagnosed with the ravaging disease of Parkinson's. But his real second act came when, after being diagnosed with the ravaging disease, he became a national spokesperson and fundraiser against the disease. One can only imagine the greater meaning that he felt in leading the battle against the disease he had come to experience. To this day, he earns more and more money for the cause, and I believe it's in hundreds of millions of dollars now, not to mention the increase in awareness of the disease and the need for a cure. Think of the suffering he's helped to relieve people of for so many by better research and treatment. An arguably more exciting, but certainly more fulfilling role for him. And he has said so. But no question he had to pivot, so to speak. One more example, George Foreman. Foreman won the heavyweight boxing championship in 1973, but was later defeated in a match with Muhammad Ali and subsequently in another important matchup. As a result, he left his boxing career and became, anybody know what he became next? George Foreman?
The grill guy?
An ordained minister.
Okay.
Yeah. Counseling youth and prisoners. Then, 21 years after earning his first heavyweight belt, he returned to his first career of boxing and regained the heavyweight title in a match that occurred in 1994. Has the mic been going okay so far now?
Mhm.
This last time? Okay.
It cuts out now and then, but we've gotten the gist of it, so.
Okay. You don't always have to look for inspiration for a second, third, or fourth act. And after a repeat of his first career path, George Foreman decided he especially liked the hamburgers that he enjoyed on his countertop barbecue. And he became a pitchman for the Countertop Barbecue Company. Mind you, the thought of purchasing the rights to the product, he thought of doing that, but realized that strong marketing of it was the key. And he decided to become the company's television pitchman instead. He wasn't being punch drunk. Great call, as they say, in fact. Despite his lack of experience in that area, Foreman's royalties ran up to more than, guess how much? $15 million.
Oh, wow.
Followed for $50 million, followed by a buyout of his name and appearance by the company for hold on to your hat. Guess how much he sold out his appearance and name for?
100
So he could
million?
get out of the business. More.
Really?
$130.5 million.
Wow.
You heard that? $137.5 million. In my opinion, there are just too many factors in play. But I've had a chance to think about while I told you these stories, and I now remember, but what I've come to believe rather is the secret sauce from examining these and many others who have gone the second act plus route. Attitude, willingness to pivot, accept guidance, timing, discipline are likely the 5 most important ones in career and job search. And I've experienced these myself and tried to utilize these. The attitude that mistakes are only to be treated as stepping stones to progress, that success is failure turned upside down, and that it all comes down to the last person standing because he or she got up one more time than they fell down. Attitudes, I know. The attitude of researching and learning what are the best approaches instead of a slipshod, arbitrary, and unplanned approach. And willingness to get help when a person's positioned to receive good advice, not necessarily from Uncle Larry or Aunt Sandy. Then it takes persistence and discipline. The process can take 6 months or more to be truly effective in reaching one's goals. At least the first level of ones of determining one's best path, some retraining, and evaluating the industry, amongst others. Willingness to pivot, move in an adjusted direction, add another chemical to the potion, and maybe see it explode into success. Now, more than ever, a pivot is needed to survive and thrive in the current work atmosphere, regardless of your age. The guidance that comes from the vast knowledge base out there, ever evolving due to a constantly changing job market and career landscape. As in many areas, the cost of professionals is by far less than the cost of not utilizing them. Otherwise, as the position seeker reinvents the proverbial wheel, they can lose weeks, months, or even years of income potential and gain increased dread of Mondays as they are delayed in realizing their dreams. Timing, also key. When and how to act on approaching the right person for an informational interview, when to follow up on an application that is nowadays called ghosted, meaning in the old days of the early boomer area, apparently rejected, and even worse, unacknowledged. Apparently the boomers used that for social issues, internet things, and also work resumes. Discipline. In all cases of success, there must be a path set out that is calculated to eventually reach success in the straightest line possible. That's not to say that the paths won't diverge due to changing circumstances, but remember this, there is no wrong road to anywhere. It may just take you longer to get there on the wrong road, a lot longer, ever. Every road is a right road to somewhere. It's just that that somewhere may not be the place you want to go. Also key is the discipline to report to oneself or report to someone else if that is needed to stay on track. The discipline to take and incorporate that input to best focus one's path and approach is necessary to pass the formerly what? Were you listening before? I'm going to repeat it. The discipline to take and incorporate that input to best focus one's path and approach what is necessary to pass the formerly instead of impossible, have I yelled at you people until now? The formerly,
Obstacles?
no, the impassable. Remember, it's the
Impassable.
obstacle makes something impassable. Impossible means it can't happen. We don't, that's not in our vocabulary as career coaches, unless somebody's being totally off the wall, let's say. To summarize, there's only one way out of the doldrums: seeking, rather, and deciding, moving, thinking, and acting, confronting and resolving your demons in that process, making the decision to explore, self-evaluate, maybe vocational evaluation, learning about the industry and career landscape, preparing for new opportunities, understanding the current hiring and business processes and trends, reaching out to others who have already made the journey, and staying enthused, whatever it takes. I'd like to leave you today with a poem that is one of my personal favorites. It's about the prime elements of the formula. The prime element, rather, of the formula in my mind. Anybody guess what that is? What's the most important underpinning of all this if your person has to reinvent or move on to something different? I'm used to this in breakfast groups. You guys are at lunchtime. They're still waking up.
Patience.
Courage. Patience, that's a good one too, but courage. This poem was written by Ralph McTell, a poet and songwriter from England, who was last in America in 1980. As they say in political commercials, oh, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Okay, you ready for the poem?
Yes.
When you look to the hill, you must climb, and your doubts will not disappear. Don't look down, look ahead. Isn't that what they said? It's a long way up from down here. To be fearless does not mean you're brave. To be brave means you have to know fear. Each crevice, each grip, each foothold, each slip. It's a long way down from up here. So rise with the morning and run to the hills until you can't run anymore. Like a bird set free from the chains of the night and rise from the valley floor. Well, the bigger the hill, the more shade. Look at it that way. Deep in the dark lurks the fear. On top, all alone, the only shadow will be your own. It's a long way down from up here. And you'll remember each painstaking step and the thump of your heart in your ear. Let it beat like a drum. Marshal courage to come. It's a long way down from up here. Thank you for having me to your Rotary group. It's been a pleasure to speak to you. I'm glad to answer questions. One thing that's been nice is I've asked some groups if there's time, does anybody in the group have an experience they'd like to share where they went into a second act and were able to switch gears and be successful at something different than what they were used to doing?
I will share.
Huh?
My name is Khadija and I am 41 years old. I first came to the US to go to flight school, completed that successfully, was a bush pilot in Kenya for a while. Then came back to the US, started my own business. That is running pretty well. And I got bored, so I decided to become a corrections officer. So now I'm a corrections officer. I intend to go all the way to becoming a warden if that is possible.
Wow.
So I think in my less than 40 years, I've transitioned at least 3 times.
What were you before that?
What was I before that? I was huh?
You transitioned even before the ones you described, or including those?
Oh no, that's it. That's it. So I've done at least 3.
They're saying nowadays the average can be 8 or 10 careers or more. I've heard 17, but that seems pretty up there for an average. That'd be more like jobs than careers, but I don't know what's accurate. It's hard to gauge.
Is that a full different career, not your discipline that you were originally in?
Yeah, so I started as a pilot. Sorry, it wasn't for me.
I was asking Charles. Yeah.
That's the stat that I heard. you're welcome to answer too, but that's a stat that I've heard. That's when I found it a little hard to believe, but it's pretty tough to survey people because they're not really telling you what was a job versus a career. So there's a little bit of a gray area. For example, in her case, she switched within the same career in corrections. So, I mean, the same different jobs in the same career, but somebody might call it a different career if they just changed jobs. So I think it's something between jobs and careers that's the 17.
I like to add something, like Khadija, us as an immigrant, it's the first thing is changing ourselves to settle here, okay? And I lived here for 50 years. And I can see that I was a bartender that went to University of Minnesota and then got into medical industry for 20 years. Then I got into as a general contractor, and I am a civil engineer consulting company I do at age 75. But what my goal is that it's instead of, I'm not saying I'm successful, but my goal is that instead of making lots of money, that there is certain mission and vision that I have. And as long as I accomplish that, with making money, of course, that fulfill me. And really at this point, just thinking about my life is how can I impact this world before I leave positively with other people that I work with. Like I am, my engineering company has a lot of immigrants, not a lot, but you know, and how can I impact and making a statement to do some volunteer works, to contribute money or to contribute my time, and where is the focus area that I could do. You know, I have a nonprofit organization for Midwest Alliance for North Korean Refugees. So something that it's human rights issue or something that I can flock around the group to do things. And but most important thing is a security for me too. I have to have a way of keep my living standard until I die. So that's a part of, I think, making money is important and grow the business. And my next dream right now, I dare to say, is that I wish I could become a board of director for known public entity, public profitable company. So like I got invitations from say, yeah, so that's kind of like when you see, makes me happy, whatever I am, is I think fulfillment rather than making $100 million. Thank you.
Great. That's wonderful to hear personal experience because it really drives it home. And the phrase I really hate to hear is too old for that, too old for this, too old for that. So when I'll tell you something personal, when I was winding up being an attorney in divorce, being a divorce attorney is wonderful. It gives you more knowledge about all kinds of things, from insurance to corporations to children, nature of debt, mortgages. But you come out of it as a jack of all trades and the master of none. And people want to know, if you're not going to do divorce law anymore after 30 years, why are you giving up on driving a fancy car, which I didn't drive? Why are you giving up on all the prestige of being a lawyer? Well, after 30 years, it can be enough, especially doing the career that I was in and trying to run a law office at the same time. When you're thinking you're too old, sometimes you need some harsh advice that you're being too hard on yourself, or you're lowering your expectations based on age. And it's wonderful to hear. I must have misheard. You said you were 75 now? You nodded your head? Now the video's wrong. You couldn't be 75. So,
I'm 75 in July. I'm 74 right now.
You're lying about your age.
Thank you. I'm healthy.
Oh, wait, you're lying ahead of yourself. You're saying you're older than you are.
No, Yeah, I'll be set. Well, in Korean age, like I'm Korean American, I am already set. I might be 76 right now. They counted when you are in mother's womb, and then next birthday you get another year. So every time when I go to Korea, they said, no, you're right now I'm 76 in South Korea, but I will be 75 in July.
So what do they call it? A certificate of what? If you don't have a certificate of birth, what do they call it? A certificate of insemination or what? What do they call it? What do they call your certificate of when you were conceived?
Oh, so that right now, South Korea is a pretty developed country. So they do follow international calendar, but they culturally, it's 5,000 years of history. So they still keep counting my age older than actually my age.
Okay, interesting. I love the intercultural aspects of career coaching because that really is a huge overlay to someone who's either especially challenged finding what they want to do, or of course it can be an exceptional advantage if you can better relate to people who are in minorities or other parts of the workforce that have aspects that you really have to appreciate people's cultures. So it's kind of full circle for me because I was an anthropology major and I love studying about culture. And I never really had much use for the anthropology major, and I finally do during career coaching. There was some doing family law, but not to the same extent because the family law was actually a lot more dry. You're applying very specific laws about cases, about division of property, child custody, and we don't have much in the way of intercultural accommodation in family law. The law can't speak to all the different culture variations that might come into play with regard to custody and so forth. So while it was part of that, it seems to play more into career coaching than it did to that. Any other questions or experiences? Well, I'm Charles Goldstein and I approve of all these messages. Deja vu, we're back in the election. And so thank you so much for having me. I'd love to come back in the future on a related topic. And feel free to contact me. The group has my information with any miscellaneous questions. Or if you just want to give me a call and chat about this topic, I'm always glad to talk about it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. Thank you.
I'd love to receive the recording of this as soon as you have the opportunity. And any testimonials would be wonderful too, if you want to say just a couple sentences so I can get out. I'm hoping to all the Rotary groups in the region.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Jenny, can you tell us who we can look forward to hearing from next week?
Yep. Next week we have a fellow Rotarian with up in British Canada, Columbia, I mean. His name is Luke Worsterman is his full name, and he is the team lead for an international project that's called Help Us Roll 1,000 Hippos. And it actually isn't about the animal. It happens to be about a simple invention that came to Rotary around water and transporting water from wells to locations. And it's going to be a rather interesting one. So he came to us looking for an opportunity to share about this international project.
Well, thank you very much. All right.
I'm wondering, it just occurred to me, can I share the link to the recording on social media, or do you want to preserve the privacy of the group?
No, that's fine.
Great.
Yep.
We get permission for anybody's appearances on there that they share their likenesses?
I think we're good. We make them public too, so yeah.
Okay. I should have asked if anybody